Hey guys, what's up? This is Brett. Welcome to this week's episode of Friday on the Turntable. Today I'm discussing Peter Murphy's new album, Lion. Came out in the States on June 3rd on CD and digital, and then it was delayed. The vinyl release was delayed until July 1st. So that's what I'm holding here in my hand. Lion is technically Peter Murphy's 9th studio album, although it's being called his 10th album because they're including Alive Just for Love within that countdown. So for all purposes, this is his 9th studio album. He released 9th back in 2011 on Network, the same label that he's currently on, and he's been putting out a string of just great albums lately. This one was produced by Youth from Killing Joke, Martin Glover, and he's done work with, lots and lots of my favorite bands. James, he's worked with U2, and I just read today, I believe he's been asked to work on the new Pink Floyd album that was just announced. So lots and lots of stuff he's done during his career. He co-wrote all the songs on this album and pretty much played all of the instruments, I think, bar the drums he didn't play, so the guitars, a lot of the synth parts, the bass parts is all Youth. It's definitely a vocally aggressive album for Peter Murphy. Those of you familiar with Peter Murphy and his history, once the singer of the band Bauhaus, and he does this vocal thing a lot live. It comes through more live, but where it's almost like a self-distortion where he sings with such an intensity that the vocals get so almost like a natural distortion, and he uses it on this album. So the vocals are really aggressive, and it's just an insanely intense performance. And this album, when I think of bands, I've talked about this in the past. When a band puts out a new album, I always look for those songs that are just like the immediate ones that are going to be the ones that'll be played live in the set forever. This album doesn't immediately have like a song that I naturally gravitate toward, but the beauty of that is from beginning to end, it's such a cohesive album that every track kind of stands together. And there are some great tracks on this one, but there's no weak tracks. Everything flows together so sonically, so interesting, and so it just has such a great blend of electronics and guitars and some organic instruments like violin. Really an interesting album. Peter Murphy's been doing this now for 35 plus years. And the fact that he's putting on an album what I would say is, keep using the word intense and dynamic and aggressive this far into his career, I think is really is pretty spectacular. Some people I've been reading are saying this is his best album since Deep. Now, I disagree with that because my favorite Peter Murphy album, for those of you that already know, that have watched my Peter Murphy album ranking video, I'll put a link below. My favorite Peter Murphy album is actually Cascade, which followed Deep by about 5 years. So is it the best album since Cascade for me? I don't know. I still need a little bit more time with it. But in some ways, I like the previous album, 9th, better. But like I said earlier, 9th had some really outstanding standout tracks like Prince and Old Lady Shade, Uneven and Brittle, I Spit Roses, where this doesn't have songs that are immediately as catchy as that. Like I said, the whole blend of the whole album, it's an album that is, I think, indicative to the form of physical media where you listen to something beginning to end, because this album has such a cohesion, as I mentioned earlier. So I think it's best served in its entirety. Now, the album was preceded with a Record Store Day 7-inch single, which had a dub mix of the opening track, Hang Up. And then it was, it seemed like at the time it was advertised that the B-side in this one, I'm On Your Side, was going to be a non-album track. But then I'm On Your Side actually ended up making it onto the album, so I don't know what was going on with that. 3 favorite songs in this one. Actually, that B-side, I'm On Your Side, is it reminds me a lot of Wish, which was one of the non-album tracks from the Cascade era. It was the B-side to The Scarlet Thing in You. For some reason, that song, I'm On Your Side, reminds me of Wish. Really great track, more down-tempo, if you could say ballad. L'Octane, which is just, I think is just beautiful. It's kind of Lion's Cascade or Huvola from that album, for those of you familiar. And my third favorite track is probably Eliza which I think is just a there's the word again. It's intense. It's an intense vocal performance. When he goes into that chorus, there's that self-distorting, just overpowering, dynamic voice where he's Eliza, and there's all these like weird backing vocals going on that are just out of control in the chorus. So it's another standout from that one. But you also have some other great tracks on here. I Am My Own Name, which harkens back a little bit to Dust, which was this kind of Turkish, Middle Eastern sounding album from 2002. It's got an intro with some violins and some strings that make it sound like that. The track The Rose is another great one. The Ghost of Shokan Lake. Yeah, there's just, like I said, beginning to end. And the title track Lion is a really good one as well. Now the vinyl version of this has 2 extra tracks on side D. It is split up into 2 records, which I'll show you in a minute here. But it has a non-album track, Gabriel, which is a 6/8 time song. It reminds me a little bit the vibe of Bowie's Drivin' Saturday. Slightly a 1950-ish sound to it, loosely. And then it has a youth remix of I Am My Own Name. I'm not a huge fan of remixes, and it's pretty good, but definitely not essential, in my opinion, for this album. The album actually ends with Lion, so if you buy it on CD, that's what you're getting. There is a deluxe version of on CD, which comes with an extra disc, which is Peter Murphy last year in 2013 when he did the Bauhaus 35th anniversary tour, where he just toured Peter Murphy solo, but he played all Bauhaus songs. So there's a 10-song set that comes on the bonus disc from for the Lion album. Let me show you the vinyl edition, and then I want to talk about my live experience with Peter Murphy just from last week. So gatefold, it's got all the lyrics in here. Beautiful packaging. The vinyl pressing is super clean, flat. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with a download code, which I think is just a bit not acceptable in this time, in this day and age. Here's the sleeves for this one, and he actually dedicates the album to his wife, Behan. Great photos on that one. You get the credits and a feather there on this side. Yeah, like I said, it's a great pressing on black vinyl. So last week I ended up going out to San Diego to visit a couple of my friends, Lou and Kari, and the day I arrived, Peter Murphy coincidentally happened to be playing at the Belly Up Tavern in Solano Beach. So right after I arrived, a couple hours later, we headed up to the show. It's probably the 10th time I've seen Peter Murphy, and I'm going to be seeing him in a couple weeks here in Phoenix. You know, it was interesting hearing these songs translate because the set predominantly focused on Lion and Ninth, with a couple older tracks thrown in and a couple Bauhaus songs as well. I'm not one of those that needs to go hear the hits. I'd rather hear the more obscure tracks. I'd rather hear the new material, and I thought he really pulled off the new songs really well. Let me show you my ticket here. Opening band was Ringo Death Star. Didn't really enjoy them very much, but Peter Murphy was a bit detached over the last 5 years of seeing him. I've seen him several times, and my own band played with him in 2011, and he was it was mostly all business this time. He was very serious on stage, and about halfway through is when the show really kicked off, starting with the track Gaslit, which was an outtake from the Ninth album, and it was compiled on a little EP called Secret Bees of Ninth. I'll put a link for that because a lot of people don't know about that, but the song Gaslit, that's where Peter Murphy really came to life at this show. He had a little bit of a new band. He had a new guitar player, which I don't think his tone quite lived up to all the past guitar players I've seen Peter Murphy with, but Gaslit and then Eliza, the track from Ninth, really brought it together. He did 2 Bauhaus songs, Silent Hedges, followed by the complete version of She's in Parties with the dub section. Peter Murphy played the oh my god, Stylophone is it? And he played some I think he played some drums on it during the dub section. It was really cool. It was a really surprise because I've never heard the song in its entirety like that before. But it was a good show. I'm looking forward to seeing another show of the tour just to kind of compare how it was. But Peter Murphy is always great, and it's always a treat to see him in any context. I've seen him with Bauhaus twice, and I've seen him solo, you know, like I said, probably 10 times. So let me see if there's anything else I wanted to touch on. Let's wrap it up, guys. Peter Murphy Lion, highly recommend it. As I said earlier, It's one of those true to the album format. It's one of those that you want to sit and listen to beginning to end because it flows through so nicely, and it's just a really intense experience. So guys, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.